Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be quite different. I'm going to be telling you guys a story. I've been wanting to share these stories on my channel, kind of like history of fashion. All the fashion brands we love all kind of have an interesting story. So I'm going to start this new series on my channel where I'm going to cover some of the brands we love. Today I'm going to be talking about the House of Gucci. And it's just in a kind of cool timing because the House of Gucci movie just has been released. I did see it, so I'm going to share my thoughts on the movie. First, let's get into the story. Today I'll be sharing the murder of Maurizio Gucci. So the Gucci family literally had it all. They had the glam, the wealth, and fame. But they also had a lot that went along with it, like scandals, betrayal, legal problems, plots of revenge, and even murder. So Gucci was founded in 1921 by Guccio Gucci. That's where the double G monogram logo comes from. It comes from Guccio Gucci. His initials, Guccio Gucci, started the Gucci company in Florence, Italy in 1921. So he actually had like a leather goods shop that catered to the elite in Florence. So soon after, 3 of his sons joined the family business and they began working at Gucci as well. So the sons wanted to expand to New York because they just thought that would be the next step in growing the business. They did that. They eventually expanded to New York. Gucci completely took off and became one of the top fashion houses in the world. So this story is about Maurizio Gucci, and Maurizio Gucci is the grandson of Guccio Gucci. So as I mentioned, 3 of Guccio Gucci's sons joined the business. 2 brothers left. One son is the father of Maurizio Gucci. Maurizio's uncle had 3 sons. So it was the company kind of ownership shares were split between Maurizio and his father, and then his 3 cousins and their father, his uncle. Maurizio and his father had a larger share since it was only 2 of them, and the other shares were split amongst the 4, the 3 cousins and the father. Maurizio was, in the family business, and he met kind of like a socialite on the scene. Her name is Patrizia Reggiani. She met Maurizio Gucci at a party. He was very enamored with her right away. He said she looked like Elizabeth Taylor. The 2 of them kind of hit it off right away, and their relationship got serious. And once Patrizia met Maurizio's father, he did not approve of Patrizia. He just felt as though she was after Maurizio for his money, although she was from a pretty well-off family as well. But he just felt like she was after him for his status. He did not approve of the relationship at all, to the point where he cut Maurizio out of everything, out of the business, out of his home, like everything. Maurizio went ahead and married Patrizia anyways, so they definitely defied the father and got married anyways. So Maurizio's father eventually passes away, leaves, and Maurizio ends up inheriting like over $200 million and his father's shares of the Gucci company. So now Maurizio is holding like 50% stake in the company because he has his father's shares now and his own shares. And he has a very ambitious wife in Patrizia. And Patrizia is said to be kind of grooming Maurizio to be more of an aggressive businessman than he was. So she was helping him with certain strategies, and essentially what they wanted was to remove the other family members from the company so that Maurizio would have full control of Gucci. This involved more scandals. There was a lot, there's so much to talk about. There were like lawsuits amongst the family. Paolo Gucci, which is Maurizio's cousin, he actually ended up getting his father sent to jail in the sent to jail in the States, tax fraud. So that was horrible. So the family was really at each other's throat, just wanting to have power. But Maurizio did have the bigger share, so it was easier for him to push out the rest of his family members, and he did exactly that. And in doing that, he created, you know, enemies amongst his family. I feel like for a brief moment in time, it appeared that Maurizio had it all. He had his wife, he had 2 daughters, and he, you know, inherited his father's fortune along with those shares of Gucci, which put him in the place of power within the company. One day, Maurizio just packed a bag. He had to head out for a business trip. He said he was going to be gone for about a day or so. He head out on this business trip and said goodbye to Patrizia and his daughters and never came back. He essentially left his family. He told her by a message, by I think a family friend, that he was not coming back home. So he didn't really even have a proper discussion with her about this, which definitely started all of the resentments that builds up Patrizia had for Maurizio. So Maurizio is now separated from Patrizia. She is, you know, getting like a monthly allowance from Maurizio, and they just start this kind of long divorce mess. And their divorce actually took almost just under 10 years to finalize. And in that time, you know, that resentment Patrizia had for Maurizio just continued to grow. During that time, Maurizio himself was actually pushed out of the Gucci company because the investors they were working with just felt like it was better, and they bought him out as well. He ended up selling his shares of Gucci for $120 million, and that was his role at the company. So for the first time in history, there was not a Gucci family member a part of the company. Continued to grow the resentment as well for Patrizia, because Patrizia felt like the Gucci's company success, she attributed a lot to that. And she felt really betrayed as well when Maurizio ended up selling his shares of the company. It wasn't just about the money anymore, it was about her status and not being this heiress to the Gucci company anymore. So that grew the resentment. And you know, it's said that Patrizia spoke very openly about what would happen if she were to get rid of Maurizio, and how would she do that. So she was plotting murder openly. In 1992, Patrizia was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and when she had to have that removed in the hospital, she was really upset that Maurizio did not come to the hospital. He simply just sent her flowers, and that was like one of the ultimate signs of betrayal for her. Like, she was just furious at his behavior, that he wasn't there for her, because at this time they were still legally married. When she got out of the hospital, she kept a journal, and in her journal, when he did not show up for her at the hospital, she wrote in her journal vendetta, which means revenge. And that is said to be the turning point when she really started plotting his demise. Had her like biggest confidant, her name was Pina, and Pina was known as like a fortune teller. She was into the occult. She did spells. The media in Italy referred to her as the Black Witch. So she enlisted her confidant Pina to help her take care of Maurizio. So they were doing their spell work, and it wasn't working. Maurizio is at this point living in Milan in a beautiful, gorgeous, luxury apartment. Him and his new lover. He's seemingly just living like carefree, going through his millions. And that really also concerned Patrizia, because he was blowing through his money, but again, he no longer had the status of working at Gucci and being part of the company, so he was just blowing through money that was meant, she felt like was meant for her and her daughters. And she was really upset by that. So she kind of confronted her friend, like, this isn't working. We've been trying this. Like, we need to do something else. And she started even like trying to enlist like her staff, like her housekeepers, like asked her housekeeper if her husband knew anyone who would be able to take care of Maurizio. Like, she was very open with the planning of his murder. Pina ended up helping her hire someone to kill Maurizio. This was not like a professional at all. It was like, I think someone like a mechanic and like a pizza. Like, she just put together this interesting cast of characters to commit this murder, this very high profile murder of Maurizio Gucci. So she ends up hiring this guy who is going to carry this out for her. And on March 27th, 1995, at 8:30 in the morning, Maurizio Gucci was on his way to his office when he was approached from behind and shot 3 times. When he fell to the ground, he was then shot in the head, killing him. Maurizio Gucci was dead. On this day, Patrizia wrote in her journal, Paradiso, which is Greek for paradise. That's the only thing she wrote in her journal for that date. The next day, she arrived at the home he was sharing with the girlfriend. She evicted her on behalf of the daughters. Had papers drawn up to evict the girlfriend from the lavish apartment she was sharing with Maurizio. And she moved right in. So she was living in that apartment, living kind of in the lap of luxury, you know, really enjoying her millions now that her daughters have now inherited from their father passing. She was just living a luxurious, comfortable life. And as they were investigating the murder, I thought it would have been obvious that Patrizia would be like a main suspect based on how much she talked about having him killed. But because Maurizio had so many enemies, it took some time, I guess, to sort through the suspects. About 2 years after his murder, Patrizia was arrested and put on trial along with her accomplices, which was her confidants, Pina, as well as the 2 men who were hired to actually carry out the killing of Maurizio. So they were all put on trial. Pina, her good friend, actually ended up cutting a deal and telling everything so she could have a lesser sentence. So Patrizia was found guilty. Her and all of her accomplices were found guilty, and she was sentenced 29 years in prison. She actually served 18 years and was released. And that's the story of the murder of Maurizio Gucci. And I said this story just has so much in it, like from family betrayal, drama, love, murder. It's definitely wild, a wild story. So that's the story of the murder of Maurizio Gucci. Currently, there are no Gucci family members working at Gucci, the company. Gucci is valued at being over $10 billion today. This story was cool to share with you guys because, like I said earlier, the movie had just come out, The House of Gucci. Lady Gaga portrays Patrizia in the movie. I've seen the movie and it was definitely, I mean, there were certain things that weren't, you know, accurate, but it was definitely a cool story to see come to life. Pretty sad though, there's so much betrayal and just hurt involved in the story. It's a tragedy, what people would do, right, for wealth and power and position and titles and status, and all of that is conveyed in the movie for sure, and in the story of the family, kind of like the downfall, really. I think this story is more about the downfall of the Gucci family, because the brand itself, like I said, is worth over $10 billion today, but the family was torn apart for the riches and the status and the title and the power. So if you are interested in the story, I definitely recommend checking out the movie. The movie was beautifully shot. It really, I think, encaptures the time. It really kind of transports you to that time in history. So it was pretty cool to see. I also liked when Tom Ford was brought out in the movie, because Tom Ford played a huge part in kind of reviving Gucci after Maurizio Gucci took over the company, and Tom Ford was designing for them, and he definitely elevated Gucci to even a bigger status at that time in the 90s. So it was really cool to see Tom Ford in the movie as well. Well, it was an actor portraying Tom Ford, but it was really cool to see when Tom Ford came on the scene at Gucci and started designing for them. So I really enjoyed that. It was pretty cool to see also stuff that I kind of read about, you know, just because I take an interest in fashion, kind of coming to life as being part of history. So pretty cool to watch. If you guys are interested in learning more about the story or interested in the story, I definitely recommend checking out the movie House of Gucci, and I believe there's also a book, House of Gucci, as well. So you can definitely look into that if you're interested, if you want to learn more about the story. Because guys, I didn't even scratch the surface in all the drama in this story. So definitely comment below and let me know what you think of this story, and let me know if you've seen the movie. Definitely like to know what your thoughts are. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel, definitely subscribe. I talk about fashion, lifestyle, travel, and sometimes beauty. So if you're into that, please subscribe and join my online community. Also, don't forget to hit that bell so you can turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload from me. As always, if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, guys.